team, it's Brad Phillips. Look at this PT-19 by Hangar 9. 1,435 millimeters of wingspan and just absolutely gorgeous. This thing went together super fantastic. It was really easy to build. We didn't have much trouble at all. It was probably the easiest Hangar 9 plane we've built so far, which is super nice. And yes, we do actually have this set up with the AR637T, which means with the Avian ESC, we can do that, which is nice. We got thrust reverse on here. We've got forward. And with the 14.85 prop, you're supposed to fly on 4S, in this case, 5,000 milliamp battery. But then later, as soon as we're done with this, if things all go to plan, we're gonna go ahead and put in a 6S, probably 5,000, and we'll switch out the prop to a 12.6E so you can see what it does. But in the meantime, I wanna talk about two things really quick. One, we had to go into telemetry right here. If you're following along with our Unbox Build radio setup, make sure you go into Smart Battery and then turn off those warnings. They're really annoying. And then Smart ESC. And I turned voice on at 3.4, which means that any individual cell will start a timer or start an alarm in voice. So we'll see what she has to say about that. But at any rate, here we go. So you'll notice my gain is just over 50%. This is actually our second flight. We have a little teeny light wind coming over here. So we'll see what we do. We have noticed that the flaps, although very nice, they are not super duper effective. And yes, this thing is very powerful on 4S. So I guess we're gonna see how it does on 6S shortly. But for now, let's go ahead and get it back taxied. What a gorgeous looker we've got here. I love back taxiing because you can really use up every inch of your runway and you don't have to blow through tons of battery back taxiing. Okay, here we go, guys. Without further ado, take off flaps. Getting into throttle. Out of the takeoff flaps. You guys may notice there's a minor change in our environment here. Look at that, would have hit a pole. This thing is super duper capable. Take off flaps, a little bit of throttle. Oh yeah, would have hit another pole. Look at that rudder authority. You can really kick that thing around. Love it, folks. Whoa, got kicked by some wind there. So one thing to mention, I did put 10% more expo on my middle setting, which is 20% now on the elevator, instead of the 10 that I would customarily run. This is with flaperons in this area. And that was only on the elevator. Nice slow down, but it doesn't slow down as much as you might expect from some of the foamies that we've worked with. This is a balsa wood airplane, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Crisp maneuvering should be expected up and over. Nice and quiet with that wood prop into the takeoff flaps for the rollover. And here we go, just a little bit of rudder to coordinate and keep that nose down. As you can see, this thing will fly very well at relatively low speeds. Or high speeds if you want. So I am still honestly getting used to not having power lines here. This is our now second flight, full landing flaps coming in. But I am just loving the way that this plane flies. It is absolutely a looker too. Stall turn coming. Or wing over rather. I still keep wanting to turn to avoid hitting the power lines because I've hit the one that I would have been flying through right now, a handful of times in very critically bad times.
Might take you a while to use that.
It's gonna totally take a while. And that wind is coming right in our face right now. Okay, so full landing flap. So I'm with the wind here. Let's show you what it looks like. She is definitely a very good flying plane. We hit the CG marks pretty much spot on by getting the battery practically right in the middle of where we put our strap. we added a strap. That's one of the only things we did that was not included. Let's see if we can try a touch and go here. I think greasy landings are something this plane is gonna do all day long. But the thing is, look at that beauty. Oh yes, so good. Trying to make a nice clean barrel roll there. We'll do kind of more of a, that's more of a roll there. Okay, going up. Nice stall turn here. This PT-19 is just glorious, folks. It really flies great. Even with 4S, she has everything you need and more. Almost unlimited vertical. Going on the inside this time. Presentation, and then just a little bit of rollout and up and over. So folks, the one thing I can definitely say is I feel like we could probably be, I don't think the CG's bad right now, but I think we could be a little bit different than we are right now. I feel like that battery could be just a touch forward because I feel like I have plenty of elevator authority. It's so much fun. But you guys notice she is really slick. She doesn't slow down much for anything. 4. So this is our 5-minute timer we're coming up on. That's only about 10% stick input, even with the Expo. So you may even decide to just run some lower rates. Now we do have a little bit of wind. You'll notice it's kind of 30 degrees off square from the runway. Okay, so we're into the full landing flaps, which means our aileron roll is going to be diminished somewhat. We're going to go over the top of that orange tree if we can. That's a cherry, I think. But as you can see, we get into ground effects and she just wants to carry. And that's why thrust reverse is so nice. Up and over. We'll do a figure 8 here. Nice, clean work of it. Guys, I just love flying this thing. It's so much fun. But I gotta definitely say, she is greasy and slippery, so she doesn't like to slow down for you. So full landing flaps, we're gonna try to get into this a little bit better this time. Do a little teeny bit of slip on the way downhill, just avoiding the trees. Of course, the trees disappear badly this time of year. I do not wanna end up in one. There we go, much better, much better, much better. And no thrust reverse on that one. And we did hit a little bit of a bump there. So let's go take a look at it, see if we damage it. We're about 1 minute 12 past our 5. So that'd be 6 minutes and 12 seconds of actual flight time. In the flaps, we'll go ahead and shut those off now as we approach the aircraft. Throttle cut is on and tested. And just to show you how nice that did, even with the grass ops, which by the way does slow the plane down nicely, we don't see any damage here, which is really nice, very simplistic. Undercarriage, these wheel fairings are one of my least favorite parts of the plane. If I have to pick something I don't like, that's it. But that being said, they're very simple. And if you mount them where you should, you have play without damaging your wing. I was super tempted to bring those all the way down and trim them and just go really all in, but I decided against it, and I'm glad I did, because every time you hit a bump, you're gonna move that. Also, this is a true balsa wood airplane. It is gorgeous looking. It is really well finished. The tight wrap on it, I mean, I can't get finished like that if I tried, and it just looks pristine. So good luck if you can do it. I'm gonna go ahead and take it up again. I just feel like the wind is nice right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with it. I do wanna try one thing actually before we go any further. I want to, just for grins, I'm going to go in here, go to the dual rates in Expo. I'm going to switch from aileron over to elevator. I'm just going to go. I was in my top setting. I know.
Oh.
I accidentally had it in the top setting, folks. So no wonder it felt a little bit choppy on me. So we'll see how that does before we change the CG. Okay, takeoff flaps are deployed. Here we go. The thing comes off of the off of the tail wheel. Very easy. Just let it come up and then get into the throttle. Next thing you know, you're flying, folks. Okay, let's go back to our normal spot here. Okay. Camera crew, back to the center. I love listening to the noise it makes. Yeah, there's takeoff flaps. Of course, I have to find the margins of the yard no matter what's there. So gorgeous, folks. Cornhole. It does cornhole, but it doesn't like coming out of it. Didn't recover very well. So I'm gonna try that again. Get a little more airspeed. There we go. Okay, full landing flaps coming out. Okay, real slow. Try to go real slow here. Get out of the flaps. So we're just gonna slow it down. Bring it right in over the trees. So as you can see, guys, we got a long flight time here, and we're probably approaching, we are definitely at 1:42 on our countdown from 5. So we're probably about 10 minutes of flight time now, because what we're like 6:12 plus the 4 we've got here. So let's try taking a landing if we can get it in here just right. A little bit of slip. Ooh, that was close to the trees. Watch yourself. Good job, Brian. Good save. Okay, so first of all, I just want to talk about what just happened there. Thrust reverse was on, but I hadn't applied any thrust. And that's important. If you get a bounce like that, you just have to remember, okay, what's going on? How do I correct? The quickest thing you can do is get into it, get it flying. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough elevator authority and you're just going to oscillate and bounce. So what I did was I moved myself just to make sure we were safe. And then I controlled it and got the nose down, which seems totally counterintuitive when you're crashing a plane, it feels like. And then it just settled down for me and it was golden. So just remember, the wing is very low on this plane. You're only about that far off the ground. So it is extremely low and the ground effect is palpable. So I want to warn you about that if you're a new pilot. Otherwise, safe works really good on this. We actually have demonstrated it once. And this thing does great in grass. So it may actually be a better plane from grass just because those harder wheels, they're not totally hard, but they're not soft either. So they're somewhere in the middle and I feel like it's a good fit. But that being said, it's gonna take a little practice to get greasy landings with this plane. And that's one of the funnest things you could do as a pilot. So what I'm gonna do is, that's our timer, by the way, I'm gonna clear that. So I think we got about 3.5 to 4 minutes. So that's about 10 minutes of flight time. Let's see where our voltages are real quick. I'll just unclip and scroll over. Okay, so it looks like we're at 14.6 volts or 15.4 volts right now. And that's pretty good. So we could actually go a little longer. So you're looking at on 5,000 4S, you could get probably 10 minutes would be a conservative estimate. So I might change my timer over to 10 minutes from 5 because 5 is just a little bit too short. And also what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go grab a 6S and put the appropriate prop on and we'll show you exactly what it takes to do that. So guys, if you wanna help support our channel, buy this plane from the links, PayPal and Patreon if you don't like buying this particular plane or another plane right now. We appreciate you guys. Our Patreons are definitely there supporting us every month, which is super exciting. Of course, we've got a cat here now, and it's always good when the cats show up for flying. And actually, this cat left us a little snack on the patio, a little mouse for us. So that's always good. Guys, if you want to support us though, buy these things. It's the best way for us to build clout with the manufacturers we do work with, and also for you to get the plane you're going to buy otherwise. Commissions come to us, and then you get the same price and bonus points and things that you are already earning, and using coupon codes and things like that is not disallowed or anything, so you can still use whatever's available. And speaking of coupon codes, if they exist, we try our best to put them up on Brian Phillips RC for you to find, and then you can go right to the plane you want, watch the video, make a decision to purchase, and then you'll be helping to support our channel in that regard. So stay tuned. We're gonna show you how to get this prop ready and get it on 6S. Okay, so before we put this prop in, let's talk about where the battery is. And this is of course with the 4S 5000. Now, again, like we said, this is gonna be our second flight. We have our throttle cut on. The gains and everything are just really working good. So I won't actually change anything. I'm on 1X for the multiplier. for the gains, and you can see I have it attached to auxiliary 3, and so we're just past half. But honestly, it just feels really good. So I don't want to mess with it anymore. And then that a little extra additional expo on the elevator really helped to resolve my feeling that it could go a little bit more nose heavy, because look where I've got this marked here, folks. I'm like, let's call it, you know, about a ½ inch back from the leading edge where there's the bulkhead, okay? And that's where I put my 5000 4S. And yes, we did add this one strap is the only thing we added, and the shelf liner, because we always do the shelf liner trick. Of course, this is a plug and play airplane, so you have to add your own receiver. So we chose to use the AR637T, which is highly recommended on this aircraft because it will give you stabilization and safe if you need it. Safe is gonna make this plane a lot easier to fly if you need safe. This plane is definitely not going to be excluded, in my opinion, from your flight choices. Now, this is a good battery. We also use this on the D18, the Beechcraft, perfect size class. And the thing that's nice is you've got the IC5, which is gonna allow you to go straight to a 6S. And so in our case, what we are gonna use is we're gonna go, instead of going to the 4000 6S, which incidentally weighs about 110 grams more, it's a considerable difference. It's about 20% more. We're just gonna throw caution to the wind and go up to a much bigger battery. And the reason we're doing that is just to demonstrate that you can put the bigger batteries. Incidentally, this 50C pack weighs slightly more, for whatever reason, than the 100C pack. And that's why we chose the 50, because it's the heaviest of the Gen 2 packs that we have in the 6S class. That's 5000. 6S, 5000. 50C happens to be the heaviest, if you were listening to all that. And I'm just gonna reiterate that. It is the heaviest, and the reason we're doing the heaviest is so we can see where the CG works out. And it's not like we need the extra oomph or power, or like I'm worried I'm gonna puff the pack or anything like that, because I'm not at all on this plane. It has plenty of power. It's not gonna cause a problem. It's a singular engine. But I am just gonna estimate where I think it should be. I'm gonna go under this little bulkhead here, just get those wires. I do want the wires going backward. Doesn't have to be that way, but I'm just assuming that's probably about where we want it. And it does fit really good. That shelf liner is working good. So I'm gonna go another probably ½ inch or so back. That should, actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna throw caution to the wind for now, because we'll test it. I wanna see if I can even reach. I can't, okay? So the ESC lead is not long enough for me to do this right now without getting aggressive with my leads. So let's see if we can do it now. Yes, we can. We can make connection, but we are just there. And I don't like that, because if the battery were to shift, you could potentially create a dangerous condition where you disconnect power. You don't want this thing flying at your head. Generally speaking, people don't hit themselves a lot in the hobby, but when they do, it's not really a great thing. So what I'm gonna suggest you do is put the leads forward on the 6S 5000. Now, 6S 4000, you could probably put the same direction. Okay, so I'm just gonna point this here, and then that's gonna give us the capability of going back further to that bulkhead. And yes, we're largely off our shelf liner, which is about here, but that's okay, because we don't need that much shelf liner to help assist in the one singular strap we're using. Again, I don't like Velcro. That doesn't mean you have to not like Velcro. And the thing is, if I was gonna fly all the time on this battery, I'd really like to see better support to help that battery stay in position. But I can tell you right now, let's just do a quick test. I'm gonna hold the motor, and I'm gonna hold it and throw it hard. And I don't see anything move, so I think we're safe. So at this point, we're trapped on the bulkhead, and we're trapped by the strap, and we're trapped by friction with the shelf liner underneath. So it's gonna serve similar to what you would get from Velcro. Velcro, of course, or hook and loop is going to be the easiest way to do it, but I just don't like Velcro. Kind of passionately don't like it. Okay, now the other thing is I have my throttle cut on. We're already bound, obviously, and I'm gonna go ahead and plug in. We'll see what happens here. Just kind of make sure everything gets ready to start. Letting the AS3X initiate is a good idea before you start wiggling around a lot. And I'm just gonna get these wires situated. Now, we don't know if this is gonna work out for CG, so let's go ahead and test that. Obviously, we do have to switch the prop, and we're gonna be privy to that here in just a minute and share exactly what we did. Okay, everything is collapsed into position and locked. Just gonna flip this plane around. Remember, the cowl does need to periodically be tightened if those screws vibrate loose. That's perfect, guys. That is absolutely perfect. Okay, great. So now, options obviously de-energize the battery, but for the sake of time, we're just gonna do this. We're just gonna do it quick, and obviously do that using your own judgment, your own best judgment. I'm gonna grab a screwdriver, Chinese one, because it's easy in case I break it, because I got like 400 of these. I'm gonna break that nut loose, take this prop off. I would not do this without having vetted the throttle cut and knowing that this is working properly, because that would be a recipe for potential injury. So definitely be careful. Okay, I'm gonna just take this off. Now I did have to spin it on. This is the 14.85, so 14 inches prop with an 8.5 pitch. Okay, and it's listed right there. Very good. Love the way it works. And I didn't have problems hitting it on the concrete, but I did get some grass on there, as you can see here and here. Okay, so we're gonna take and lay that down, and we're just gonna cut this thing open, and then we'll have to do just a really small modification to get this to fit. So this is just an ACP prop, or APC prop, American Prop Company. Okay, so we'll just cut this and slip this out. So now, generally speaking, when you buy a plug-in fly plane, you don't have to necessarily provide a different prop, but because this thing is kind of really good on 4S, it might make sense for most of you guys just to fly on 4S anyway, but you know I'm not gonna not share how it works. Because a big part of what we do here on Brian Phillips RC is we vet what the manufacturers claim, and they're claiming that this does 6S, so we're gonna see how it does 6S. Not just the fact that it will work, but does it need the 6S? Maybe this smaller size prop is gonna be more lame. I don't know, kind of doubt it though. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab a drill bit, and I believe that's really close to the size if you wanna show them from above. You can see that's really close. That's a 5/16 drill bit. Usually I like to get these chucked in, make sure there's not a big wobble. And then yes, believe it or not, all I do is I just basically guide it in and drill it out, and then I use those. So these are sometimes sharp. This one's not too bad, so I can just brace it and then do something like this. Usually don't go crazy because I don't want to cut myself. You can put in a clamp, or you can just do that, and that's generally what I do. Yes, I'm sure there's probably easier, safer, whatever, better ways to do it, but this is the way I've always done it. I've had pretty good luck with it and not been burned too many times. So as you can see, we've got a good fit there. So now all we need to do is put the bushing on, and there's multiple bushings here. So usually I just take the bushings and see which one goes up and fits over, and that one fits. So it actually helped me by breaking off. And so now I'm just gonna rock that on. And then I'm gonna grab back here and kind of let that thread on. So we'll see if that threads on. Yep, there it goes. And so that bushing is just gonna give us a little bit tighter fit and a little bit more precision to get on there. Then once I get past where I'm hitting my fingers, I can hold the tip of the shaft and work it back the rest of the way. It's more kind of wanting to rock back and forth. Okay, all right, great. So we're on there, that looks good. I'm gonna give it a couple spins. I just wanna make sure that when it spins, it's kind of centered. And then I'm gonna take my nut, just work this on here. Now, some of you guys are probably thinking you're way overthinking this, Brian. Sure, I'm only demonstrating what I know, nothing more. Okay, so we'll see how this looks. This is gonna give you more ground clearance too, which is kind of nice. Okay, then I'm gonna take and torque this down. And I usually go pretty crazy. But if you go too crazy, you might actually cross-thread your aluminum spinner. So just be careful. All right, guys, that's all it takes. So now we're gonna go outside and we're gonna see how this does. So we'll pause and get reset and come right back. Okay, so throttle cuts off, guys. This is with 6S. One last final control surface test, and here we go. We're kind of with the wind, so we'll see how this does. Oh, that thing screams, guys. Okay, out of the flaps, that was a 70% throttle on takeoff. Okay, so let's see how it's responsive. Remember, this is a heavier battery. It should be a little bit less floaty, about 30% throttle, about 15%, 10. Feels good. A little bit more throttle. She's louder. Let's see what it feels like at 100% throttle. I actually don't like it as much. That's weird. A lot of control over the control surfaces. It does feel marginally faster. But honestly, I was expecting, you know, the sun, moon, and the stars. I liked the sound better on 4S. Did you?
Yep.
Wow, that's weird. Talk about counterintuitive. I don't like that it's louder, but I don't mind a little bit of noise. It's not like obnoxiously loud. Okay, coming down the runway here. Left to right. 50% throttle, 60, 70. Should be up and over. Rolling out of that. So folks, all I gotta say is on 6S, I'm surprised. I really kind of like the way it performed on 4S. And my guess is that on 6S, you would not be within spec on that prop. Love the way the bottom of this plane looks. It feels maybe just slightly more stable now, but it shouldn't matter. Okay, up. Definitely have more unlimited up. Okay, coming up, cornhole. Okay, let's go safe. So remember guys, safe will not take you out of a stall. It will just point you level. Okay, I'm in safe. So as you can see, safe is doing its job. And there are some limits on bank and pitch, like always. There's up, there's down. Okay, out of safe. So let's see if we can do a pass with a touch and go. So folks, I would say this PT-19 is a great airplane, and I would say it's great on 4S, folks. Okay, take off flaps here. You're perfect where you are. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I can slow it down actually easier. Ooh, gotta watch out for that orange tree. Okay, here we go. Watch yourself. Okay, so a little bit loud. That was probably the best landing, but I just want to remind you about something. When you have a tail dragger and you have a crosswind and your tail is up, then you go to that transitory state where you touch down, it can be a little bit wonky at first. That's what happened to me there. Obviously safety is paramount, so we wanted to move back a little bit. I get a little nervous with the camera crew sometimes, but the thing is this wind whips up this hill and it's going at this exact angle. So as you can imagine, we have a little bit of a separation here, and you don't hit it until you get to about here, and that's why she wanted to wind vane. So not a big deal, definitely could be overcome with some practice, which is what we're gonna do now by taking off. But oh, let's not talk too much. The reverse thrust is way louder on 6S, but that's okay, because we kind of do want a little bit more reverse thrust. And I gotta say something, these flaps, actually let's do a planned takeoff from the grass. Now our grass is a little bit bumpy right now and tall, because we've had groundwork being done out there, or dirt work. And so as a result, we have not been real privy to getting the lawn mowed because there's stakes all the way up and down our property, okay? So takeoff flaps, we're just gonna look at our voltage. First of all, we're very good on voltage, got lots of power left. Throttle cut is definitely off. We are in forward thrust, we have takeoff flaps deployed. I'm gonna go full up elevator. We're just gonna roll into this as smooth as possible. Get out of the grass as quick as you can. Out of the flaps altogether, about 30% throttle. And then into the power hard. And as you can see, it's a little bit more responsive. Okay, out of the throttle. Woo! That was all pilot error, but did you see what happened there?
Yeah.
Holy cow. I think the AS3X is still mad at me for that. That was crazy. You know, it's funny because this rudder, I think we're in not even the outside hole, and there's tons of authority. Take off flaps. Let's see how we can slow it down with 6S. Full landing flaps, you would think, sounds somewhat counterintuitive. Why would you want to slow it down with 6S? Because I didn't feel like it slowed down very good with 4S. One step to your right, please. Thank you, perfect. Good job, cam crew. And then we'll go into the bowl just a little bit of rudder, a little bit of throttle. I want to stay away from that high-speed stall, and then into the throttle hard just to keep it out of trouble. And as you can see, we've got just, Impeccable performance on this beauty. Did you see how it slipped out from under us though? That was so weird, and yet customary for a plane that's like an actual plane.
Right.
Okay, coming up and over. Okay, and then we're gonna point down the runway after we take a little bit of rudder, point the nose, a little contrary ailerons, keep it nice and flat. Now we're gonna roll into it and use elevator to make our turn. Right over the top of the tree lines for safety, and then forcing it down. A little bit of throttle, just get that prop spinning for beauty reasons. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps, a little bit of throttle. And as you can see, that thing looks absolutely phenomenal. I gotta say, I do like the way this flies, but I almost feel like I like the way it flew on 4S plenty good. And you got a lot less money tied up in the battery. So you might want to do that, because then when you get the DA-18, if you haven't already gotten it, you can use the exact same battery for that plane. And it is a weird size. Not really a screamer anyway. And by the way, the only other place we've used that battery is on our P40, which is an FMS product in the 1.4 meter size class. Okay, so let's see if we can slow it down. A little bit of less roll authority there because of the flaperons. See what I'm talking about? We just get into the ground effect and it just gets all wonk on us. I mean, it's good, but I just want it to settle down and land. And it just wants to keep flying because it's like, Brian, don't, that's ignorant, don't land. Don't land, that's ignorant. Up and over. Miss the trees by a mile. Landing flaps, where it's gonna reduce by roll authority, using a little bit extra rudder, a little bit of throttle. Oh, that looks so gorgeous, folks. Let's try stall turn with this. Now keep in mind, or wing over. Keep in mind, the 6S has a heavier pack by about 100 to 150 grams. It's about 20-25% heavier. And this is a 50C pack. So far, we're doing just fine. We got about 30% of our battery life left. Maybe a little bit more if I get out of the throttle. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Look how fast she's coming. She just doesn't slow down, folks. Look at it against the trees. It's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Here we go. Get into ground effect. Watch this. Ground effect. Even with reverse thrust, she's trying to take off. Did you see that?
Crazy.
That was amazing, folks. Okay, so throttle cuts on. Let's talk about this plane for a minute and give them a shot of it because it's just absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you guys could tell, but I could definitely tell as I was piloting it. When I came up over that hump, there was just enough airspeed that she wanted to take back off. But I was like, I resisted the temptation to slam to the ground. And that's something that feels really good as a pilot because it's hard to do and it's hard to use restraint when piloting an aircraft that's powerful. This is a fast plane. It's greasy. It's gonna come in hot, okay? Now that's even with flaperons, folks, and I'm talking 100% minus. I didn't go to the inside holes on the clevis, which would give us technically more deflection. I just don't think we can generate enough drag to really get the job done on a short runway. You're always gonna be limited, and keep that in mind. We do fly off of a short runway in a relatively confined space, so just keep that in mind when you're doing your basis for comparison about this plane and other planes. But I can definitely say this. I like the way this plane flies a lot better than the P40 and the Fun Cup, P47 and the Fun Cup size, but I also feel like on 4S, it's glorious. I feel like the ground clearance that I thought might be an issue is not an issue. It's perfect. Even in grass, you might get a little bit of grass, you know, on the edge of your, you know, on the very outskirts of your prop, but who cares? That's not that big a deal. And honestly, it stays pretty clean. So throttle cuts on. Let's go ahead and show them what it looks like underneath. I'm gonna go ahead and come out of the flaps here. Just gorgeous. We did a 3-second deployment. I think that was a smart move on this plane. You could do a regular 2-second deployment, but on these bigger planes, they seem to like the longer deployment speed. And just look how clean this is. We haven't even cleaned it, okay? It's just not even that dirty. So I would definitely say that if you're gonna be doing grass ops, it's a great plane for it. Good cooling, which is nice. We didn't have to add that. One thing I did notice is that after we were done filming, I noticed that there was a small gap on that triangle right there. Can you point to it, camera crew? The gap was on the, yep.
Oh.
And I had to tighten those 3 screws. I
okay.
thought they were tight, but they weren't. So I ended up grabbing a number 1 or 1.5 Phillips. I don't even know what size it was. In the Menards tool.
Yeah.
And I tightened them a lot better because the China screwdriver just didn't have enough in it. the size was just a little bit too tight, okay? So I didn't have enough before I felt like I was gonna strip it, so I stopped. Well, little did I know there was a little bit of a gap. So if you're watching our unbox build radio setup, make sure you do that. Also, we did tape this on, which is probably a good move. And then later I realized it was in the manual, but that was kind of like, it was my idea. And then they put it in the manual retroactively.
Maybe if you read those things.
We did read the manual this time. It's a miracle. Okay. So guys, this PT-19 is just an amazing plane. It's very well put together. I actually kind of like the way the plastic prop looks, but I think the wood prop looks a lot better. No, I like the aggressive pitch on that, but see, that's actually less aggressive than the wood prop, because the wood prop is an 8.4 and it's also bigger. I feel like I'm really curious what this plane would do for us in a 6S configuration with a stock prop. It'd probably blow up the prop.
Oh.
And I have to assume that's why they gave us that.
Right.
Now, the other thing too to keep in mind, number one complaint I have on this plane about looks is the fact that the pilot should be about half an inch further back and about half an inch further tall to make him look like a real pilot. Because I feel like this guy is really small. Looks like a child's flying it. But other than that, the thing is absolutely gorgeous. Now, I'm just going on pictures from Google. It's not like I went out and did tons of thorough research on this. Otherwise, I think the plane looks pristine. The fun scale is okay. I prefer highly scaled, but I actually prefer better flying. So I'm okay with fun scale so long as it stays true to the lines. And I feel like the lines are more appropriate on this PT-19 than on its competitive offering, which would be like the what am I trying to say?
P-47?
The P-47.
Yeah.
So the P-47 to the fun scale, I felt like lost too much scale, and I feel like this gives just enough. Also, the build was super easy on this plane, whereas I don't really honestly recall having a super easy time on the P-47. This thing, it was just, it was like butter. Okay, so if you haven't watched it, check it out. It's a very short video for us, which is unusual in a build, especially an unbox build radio setup with safe AS3X thrust reverse, Expo, all that stuff. And just keep in mind, the only thing we've done is our middle setting for elevator only, instead of being 5, 10, 20 with a reduction in the rates to 90, we did 10, 20, 40 with a reduction to 90 in the top setting, only on the elevator. But on the ailerons and rudder, we did our normal 5, 10, 20 with a reduction to 90 on the rates. So hopefully that makes sense. Guys, this is a great plane. I definitely think you should check it out. Look in the link in the video description below if you want to help support Brian Phillips RC. Obviously, what we're doing for the hobby here is trying to help teach you guys how to get the most out of your RC budget, and then also how to advance, maybe how to get back into the hobby, and then particularly how to avoid being a one and done, which is a statistic that we don't like in the hobby. And that is where you buy too much of a plane than you can handle, and you end up in many, many pieces and shattered hopes and dreams. And also, if you have a wife that is not supportive like mine is, which she is wonderful, the wonderful camera crew behind the camera here, then what you want to do is make sure that you aren't blowing money on crashes, okay? If you want to find a way to get kicked out of this hobby by your wife, buy a $700 or $1,000 investment and then crash it on the first flight.
Yep.
You will be done even if you don't want to be done. I'm just telling you, I know from experience, and if that's the way I would have started, I would have been done too. But here's the stark reality. All you have to do is just work through the ranks of planes and you can get where you want to go. And it's much easier to ask forgiveness than it is permission, in my experience.
Just tell her there's only 2 kinds of planes. Like, I'm only gonna need
just
one,
like
jet and then one like trainer.
That's what I told my wife, and now we have like what, 350 of them?
And then don't tell her that you have to buy a battery for every plane.
Yeah, and we don't have to bury our power lines and stuff like that.
Yep.
Although,
just leave out those details.
You may have noticed that the power lines are gone. Now, we did mention it in our True Maiden, which we filmed, of course, and we had the annoying voltage alarm went off like really bad for like half of the video. So we're kind of thinking about maybe not sharing that, or maybe we'll share it some other time. But the thing is, the flight went super fantastic. The only thing that we changed was we added the additional 10% on Expo for the elevator. Everything actually went really smooth, and the wind was really calm. I think it was a little bit brighter. So I don't know. Maybe it'll end up being at the end.
I think it's going to annoy people.
It's just going to annoy people because it does get picked up by our lav mics.
Yeah.
So beautiful plane, PT-19, Horizon Hobby via Hangar 9. Great job. This thing is phenomenal. It is definitely one you want to add to your arsenal. And to be honest with you, Ours have been something that we haven't done great on Brian Phillips RC just because of the nature of our long format videos. And I talk a million miles an hour and it's still long. So here's the thing. Just keep in mind, guys, when you're making your spending decisions and you're like, hey, I'm going to go through YouTube and just check out a couple of different people that have talked about this particular plane or that particular plane or this particular model or that particular model or car, whatever it is, or leaf blower. Just remember, when you come to Brian Phillips RC, we take the time to show you all the way through setting up the radio, which is, by the way, the most important tool that you have in your tool bag as an RC pilot, okay? This thing, or one like it, is the prime tool to help you do what you want to do up in the air. If you haven't learned to utilize this tool, you are missing out. Take the time, watch a handful of videos. To be frank, and as much as I hate to admit it, you could probably watch 2 or 3 of my unbox build radio setups and you will have the gist of it, okay? We get that, but guess what? It's not just you. There's also 10,000 other people in line waiting to be you. And we want 1 million more, and we want 2 million more, because the thing is, this is a beautiful, wonderful, habit-inducing, joy-inducing, enthusiasm-inducing hobby that really you should be part of, because flying fixed wing is the most immersive, the most realistic, the most scale, the most fun, the most challenging, the most difficult, the most rewarding hobby that you can do right now that I can speak of in RC. And we've done all of it. Well, most of it, let's say. Flying fixed wing is the closest to real. It's the most fun. It's the most scary. It's the most thrilling. It's the most rewarding. And take my word for it. If you don't want to take my word for it, just check out our links in the video description below. Buy something that looks easy. Check out our videos. Go to the Apprentice S. You know, go to the Sport Cub S. That's what I started with like 8 years ago doing this. I've been doing this 8 years. I've been in the hobby realm my whole life, but on and off, little bits and pieces. I've been out for whatever reason, you know, lifestyle decisions or maybe being in the wrong environment. But the thing is, flying fixed wing, it's where it's at. And you can take my word for it, or you can challenge me and try it yourself and see if I'm wrong. And I trust that you'll find out I'm right. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. We love doing this for you. Best audience in YouTube history. There's so much more content coming. I can't squeeze it in. And to be honest with you, we need about a 48-hour daytime just so we can get caught up.
Yep.
And we need that for about 3 or 4 months. But anyway, for now, we hope that you guys will stay tuned. Check out the links in the video description below. Definitely check out brianphillipsrc.com. We'll put coupon codes up as we see them. And by the way, when you follow our links, that does not stop you from using coupon codes. It does not stop you from making RC budgets and being in RC clubs and all these different reward programs that you see on the websites. It just simply tells them, the people that are running the website, that we sent you there. And then they send the pat on the back, which helps fund our channel. And if you just absolutely hate that process and you don't want to do it and you think that it somehow makes us lie about how great this product is, first of all, just watch a Dyna video once that we've done and we'll tell you about how truthful we are in these things. Here's what I'm going to say. We love this hobby so much that we are not going to sell it short. We are not going to take garbage and throw it at you and say it's the best thing since sliced bread. We might review it like birds that don't fly very well, and we'll show you just how terrible they are. But the thing is, at the end of the day, we want you guys to be happy. We make no extra money selling you a piece of crap than a good plane. Why would we ever want to sell you junk? This is an amazing plane, and you will be happy with it. I'm very happy. Now, if you're a brand new pilot, don't get this one. Wait a couple of planes. Do it for your wife, okay? Or your significant other. Because if your wife has you walking in the door with this, she's gonna be like, that thing is, first of all, it's big. Second of all, it's expensive. I saw the receipt. Third of all, you can get something smaller that's more manageable, and you don't have to walk in the door with this. You can do that, but I wouldn't recommend it. The quicker you can get from the ready to flies that are very cheap and easy to get into the, get your feet wet, and into something like this, the less you're gonna blow on money. I'm telling you guys, it's the truth. But the thing is, you get 2 or 3 ready to flies, you should be getting ready to jump into a computerized transmitter. Yep. Bite the bullet. It's like buying tires. You don't want to do it, and then you get them and you're like, wow, this is really nice having tires on this car instead of running on the rims. All right, that's all you get for today. So much more from Brian Phillips RC coming up. And yes, definitely smash the like button. Thanks for watching, guys. Come back for more.